Hi guys, good morning and welcome back to our video tutorial. Yesterday we just completed class for subnetting, class A, B and class C. If you spot any problems, you let me know, because sometimes one can make mistakes. So but if you realize any mistake or mistakes, you just have to inform me quickly, like get it, so I can quickly deal with those situations. Okay. So what you have today is that we're gonna start introduction to subnetting. We were subnetting obviously, but why would one subnet a network? Why would you? A subnet is a divided network. Okay, a network that is being cut into pieces, or a network that has been divided into smaller parts. Okay, for instance, with a class C, with a normal class C, you have about 24 bits. Okay, with those 24 bits you have 256 addresses. So why would you need to subnet that? Is because you want to manage your network. That is one simple reason why you want to subnet. You just want to manage your network so that you can say, okay, I want this number of devices in this particular department to be this number of IP addresses, or I want to allocate this number of IP addresses to this particular department. You want to subnet, you want to divide your network, or in other words, you want to manage your network by subnetting your classful networks. You have one classful network, you want to have a subsections of that classful network. That is what subnetting is all about. So today, the subnetting version that we're going to do is called fixed length subnet mask, that is FLSM. Then we'll have some practicals in both, I think only in class C for today, just not to have it so handy. So tomorrow we can do class, I'll try to do class C and some part of class B for sure, so that tomorrow we can do class A and some part of class B, obviously, because 1, 2, 3 examples should be okay for each. What I'm gonna do is class C, I'm gonna have to use one sample or two samples, and then from there I am sure, because this video you can play over and over, you will understand. Alright, so I'm gonna do some 1, 2 examples with class B, then tomorrow we can go complex with class A. But I'm sure if you know how to do class A and B, if you know how to use class C and B subnetting, you can be able to do the same for class A, and I'm gonna just give you guys that one as an assignment. Okay guys, so let's continue. Let's start from there. So our first practical why we want to subnet is that, let's say for instance we have this is our router. Okay, that is our router, and then we have a network here. For instance, is network B, and this side is on network A. Let's say for instance this is your IT department, this other side, and this other side, for instance, you have your admin department. So in your admin department you have only 100 devices, and maybe 100 or less, and then in your admin department you have also 100 or less devices, like that. Now let's assume that we are using CIDR 24. So when we're using CIDR 24, obviously this tells us that we have 256 addresses, for which if we subtract 2, we're going to be left with 254 IP addresses. So with 254 IP addresses, where you need only 100, with that your contingencies to at least be maybe 20 addresses or maybe 28 addresses. But here we are wasting about 154 IP addresses. So in order for us to avoid that waste, we want to avoid those waste. That is why we want to subnet. So when we have one classful IP address, let's say for instance 192.168.0.0, we can subdivide this into two networks. Okay, we can make it two different networks, and they all fit within this zero network here. Okay, we're gonna have to maintain this zero network twice. So that is what subnetting is all about. Okay, so what we will do is we're gonna take one classful IP class C address, and then we divide it so it can provide room for 100 and 100 users. That is 200 in both departments. Okay, so that is how you manage. So let's do one practical right from here. So that is a scenario, and that is what I want you guys to understand. Now let's go here. Let's say for instance this is what we have, and our bit values are 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, and 1. Alright, so I press enter. So I have 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So that is how class C looks like, and that's the simplest class C address. So you have to start right from there if you want to do some subnettings. Now watch here. Now in order for me to be able to get this number of subnets, we want to have two subnetworks out from here, two subnetworks out here. Okay, so that is what we're looking for, two subnetworks right from here, and then we have to do the subnettings quickly. So let me just change this to something bigger, maybe 28. Alright, okay, good. Now how do we get those two subnetworks? Because we said that we need two subnetworks from one major network, for which each of them should provide room for 100 hosts at least. Even if it's going to be more than 100, it should not be that large. Okay, the difference should not be that much. Now the formula to calculate how to get subnets is 2 to the power of borrowed bits. So we're gonna borrow bits. Okay, so we're gonna have to borrow some bits. So let me just put that as a superscript. Alright, so 2 to the power of borrowed bits is the formula that you would use to get the number of subnets if you borrow. How many subnets? If you want to get the number of subnets, number of subnetworks from a classful network, you would say 2 to the power of bits that you're going to borrow. So here we have 8 bits part of the host person. 8 bits part of this host person. So we have to borrow some bits from these 8 bits so that we can put those bits off. Okay, we can put them off so that they are not part of our host person, but they are part of our network person. Okay, so let's say for instance, if we are to subtract, or if we are to borrow, we borrow right from the left hand side when you're facing your screen or when you're facing the board. Your left hand side, when you're facing your screen, you start subtracting from your left. Okay, that's where you're going to borrow the bits. So we have 8 bits, so we'll have to know how many bits from these 8 that we have to borrow starting from the left. Okay, so now in order for us to get 2 subnets, how many bits do we need to borrow? Okay, so this is what you're gonna do. You say 2 to the power of whatever number of bits that you want to borrow. Let's say for instance, I don't know why. Okay, let's say for instance we want to borrow 2 to the power of what happened here? Okay, 2 to the power of borrowed bits. How many bits do we borrow from here? Let's say we are borrowing 1 bit. Let's say we are borrowing this, just 1 bit here. We are borrowing that bit. So let's borrow that bit. Let me make it, where is your superscript? Okay, let me go here. No, something went wrong. Okay guys, I wanna get things right, but it is